think this is an underrated tool, an underrated strategy that a lot of people, coaches probably, although coaches should and probably do understand this a lot more. But if you're embarking on a weight loss journey on your own, this is something that's really important for you to understand as well. Because I think a lot of people going through this journey by themselves, they aren't aware that this is even an option. All right, I'm going to share a story with you about one of my awesome clients. This is a story about their challenges, their struggles, and actually they're going through all of that right now. So this isn't even a transformation type story where it's like, here's their struggles, here's what they went through, and then here's how they won. What I'm actually going to share with you right now is something someone is going through right now, one of my clients, and they're in the struggle. So they are going to win. This kind of is a transformation story, but we just haven't got to their end goal yet. At least their initial end goal, because this whole thing is a lifestyle shift that lasts forever, obviously. But they do have a weight loss goal, and they're in the middle of a challenging time with it. And I'm going to kind of go over strategies that I use, and I'm going to go over a strategy in particular, one in particular that I've implemented with her right now that we just started. And I think this is an underrated tool, an underrated strategy that a lot of people, coaches probably, although coaches should and probably do understand this a lot more. But if you're embarking on a weight loss journey on your own, this is something that's really important for you to understand as well. Because I think a lot of people going through this journey by themselves, they aren't aware that this is even an option. So actually, I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to tell you a bit about my client. We're going to use, we'll call her Danielle. So my client, Danielle, she has lost 14 pounds. Her goal is to lose a lot more than that. In fact, she has been with me for several months now, and her rate of progress is on the slower side with some challenges in there. Now, she's well aware of this. I'm well aware of this as well. And we've been very honest about this, and we've had a number of challenges come up throughout this process. Number of challenges, now a number of wins as well. She's down 14 pounds. So from a scale perspective, cool. That is a win. Is it where we want to be? No. Is this the rate of progress we want to make? Also no. But there's also a lot of wins that she's had in regards to some mental and mindset shifts. Massive when it comes to how she looks at food, how she looks at eating and enjoying food, how she looks at enjoying meals out, how she looks at expectations for herself, how she looks at embracing the process. There's a ton of non-scale wins that she's made during this process as well. But the fact of the matter is still true in the sense of she is not reaching her goal to her best potential, and she's well aware of that, and I'm well aware of that. So there's a ton of ways that you can kind of work through this depending on the client. And in her case, I thought it was particularly interesting because of the strategy that we opted to go with and why. So she messaged me a few days ago, and she was struggling. And she was struggling with pressure that she's putting on herself. She was struggling with expectations that she had on herself. She was struggling with not enjoying the process and feeling like she was getting a little bit too in her head around maybe the numbers on the scale or even the progress photos, being like, I'm not seeing the changes that I feel like I should make. And I give her a breakdown like I do every client that I work with one-on-one, breakdown every week on that. So I'm honest when I break that down and be like, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're not seeing, here's why, here's what we need to do because of it. Some of her like general struggles that she still finds challenging, but she also has improved significantly so far, which has been awesome, is all or nothing thinking, which is quite common with a lot of people. Expectations that you put on yourself that I should say from her perspective, these are expectations that she's put on herself that are completely arbitrary. And to be perfectly honest, they're unfair. She's also struggled with embracing the process. All three of these she's actually improved on, but they're also coincidentally still actually just challenges, right? Like it's not like she's fixed those, for lack of a better term. Like she still struggles with all or nothing thinking. She still struggles with placing unfair expectations on herself and feeling like there's pressure that she can't manage now because of that. She also struggles with learning how to embrace the process, even though she's better at all three of those, so much better than where she was at the start. Those are still challenges that kind of undulate, and we'll have good weeks and we'll have bad weeks around that, which is normal. That is life and that is part of the process. But because of what, she was sharing with me, I actually, based on what she was sharing, I suggested that we pivot into a different kind of game plan. And what that game plan is called is a diet break. This is probably like the industry term for it, is like a diet break. So diet break is self-explanatory, but it's self-explanatory to an extent, but I'm going to explain it specifically and define it so you know what it is. And there's a lot of ways that you could define it. Really, generally speaking, a diet break is going to be a break from your diet. But a lot of people are like, well, what does that actually entail, right? For everybody, that's going to be different. In general, a diet break should look like a situation where you have now changed the actual temporary goal to not be weight loss. So we are not looking for a lower scale. We are not looking to be leaner. We are not looking for the restriction of calories to the point of weight loss. What we are doing on a diet break is we are looking to focus very heavily on healthy habits around eating, structure and routine around eating, focusing on a lot of our non-scale wins, particularly around maybe workouts, body composition, strength, performance, as well as managing stress and maybe focusing more on things like being consistent with sleep and how we manage new challenges that will come up during this diet phase. During this diet break. It's not a diet phase. So that's kind of what we do is we're basically during a diet break, generally speaking, we're taking the focus away from lower scale, getting leaner, and we're taking that focus and putting it instead away from that and putting it on anything else. Ideally stuff that's healthy that will continue to promote healthy lifestyle changes. What that looks like would depend on the person. So that's basically what a diet break would look like. And you can break that down depending on your own situation, or if you're a coach, you could break this down depending on where the person is at. And obviously all the things that you would know about this person should determine this. But another thing to consider too is how long is a diet break? This is an important thing to consider too. And this would depend on the person as well. Now, in my client Danielle's case, I suggested that we make this pivot for now 7 to 14 days, short term. So let's take the next 7 to 14 days to weigh in regularly and not look for a lower scale, but weigh in regularly. That is a habit that we want to maintain, as it is a healthy practice to monitor our total body weight, while understanding that our body weight is affected by many things that are not fat. And we're going to be doing that for at least the next 7 days. And then we can reassess after those 7 days if we want to push for another 7 days. And we can reassess after that point as well, after the 14 days, kind of where we're at. What happens here is, in many cases, and one of the goals here is what I would expect to see happen with her is that she will become she will get more reinvigorated to get back into a diet phase if we actually get out of it for a temporary amount of time. For some people, this might last more than 2 weeks. It might be 3 months, might be 6 months, might be a year. This would, again, depend on the person, their situation, where they're at, and many, many other things. But regardless, the goal is still the same, whether it's 14 days or if it's 14 weeks. The goal is to get the person to a point where they're now reinvigorated to be like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm not hyper-focused on the numbers. I feel very confident with how I look and feel. I still have some body fat to lose, and I'm excited to do that, right? in most cases, and this will kind of lead me into reasons to do a diet break. In most cases, people are quite mentally and physically exhausted, when leading up to this point. So that's like one of the big things that you would look for is like, if I'm not feeling excited, and that makes sense that not every day you'll feel excited. That is normal. But if it's happening every day for weeks at a time, and it's like, man, this is hard for a long period of time, and I'm not getting the result. This is the hard part without a coach, right? Is sometimes you don't know what's reasonable to expect here. But from my breakdown of her progress so far, the amount of results that she's getting for her effort currently tells me that she's mentally and physically exhausted. So then I just ask her, are you mentally and physically exhausted? So she's like, yeah, dude. Like, I'm feeling it. So then it's like, you know what? I think you're a good candidate for taking a diet break. Another reason would be someone who's been dieting for many months. Now, what does that look like? Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 9 months, maybe it's 12 months, maybe it's 24 months, but an extended period of time where maybe someone isn't getting we're squeezing for more juice, and the juice that's coming out is just not where it should be. And so, typically, maybe even more specifically, what I would look for is maybe someone who's actually, they're not adhering to the plan as much as they did in the past, and they're finding it hard for whatever reason. And then usually that ends up being a lot of negative emotions around that because they feel like they're failing, or it's like, why can't I just follow the plan? It's like, yeah, you're mentally and emotionally exhausted right now, and physically exhausted probably. So where we can kind of reload is if we just take a step back and then allow ourselves to recharge. Hormones will be happier, sleep will be happier, mood and emotions will be happier, energy will be happier. Changing what we focus on will make us generally happier. And then we can kind of dip back in when we are ready. And that might be a couple weeks, might be a few months, might be a year or longer. The other reason is, and this kind of overlaps, but if someone's head isn't in it, if your head isn't in it anymore and it's consistently not in it, where you're like, I'm just making choices over and over and over again throughout the week that do not align with my goals and are not on my game plan, then that's a good indicator of like, hey, are you in a headspace? You got to ask yourself, right? Like, am I in a headspace where this is something that I am willing to commit to? And there's no wrong answer here. I mean, the wrong answer would be the one where you lie to yourself. So what you should really do is answer that honestly and be like, because I'll ask clients like that all the time if they're struggling in a situation, because you don't have to lose weight, right? You might be in a situation where you're like, no, I do need to lose weight. It's like, and we could maybe agree with that if there's some health issues or whatever, and you're carrying excess fat tissue. And it's like, hey, okay, you need to lose weight. But if your head isn't in it right now, this might be a bad idea to commit to that right now. So sure, you still need to lose weight, but do you need to lose weight today? Maybe not. So let's take a break. The numbers on the scale or any other metrics that you're tracking as far as measurements and progress photos and things like that, and they're all messing with your head and you're getting way too hyper-focused and obsessed with it, that can be another sign as well. So you kind of layer all these things together and be like, okay, if you're in that kind of space, like my client Danielle was, then that's like a perfect scenario where we want to pull back, reload, recharge, wait until we've kind of restabilized. Use this as an opportunity to actually practice a lot of the non-scale healthy habits that we've already been doing. We just take basically the goal of a lower scale and leaner measurements out of the equation for now. And then we practice those. And then inevitably the body and the mind gets to a place, be it 7-14 days or 7-14 months, and you can dip back in and finish the goal. So, and diet breaks are really, really good for that. So what I want to do actually is I'm going to explain to you exactly the game plan that we set up for Danielle. So and we're probably going to refine this as we go, but this is what we've set up as of the last few days to head into this week with. So this is what I suggested. Number 1, follow meals and 2 swaps for free meals each week. So this is a strategy that she already had. So it's like, follow your meal plan. What you're going to do is you're still going to have 2 free meals per week. Okay. That's anything she wants. Takeout, meal to restaurant that she loves, social event where there's meals, some type of snacky food. Maybe potato chips are in there, maybe French fries, maybe some type of sweets, whatever. She knows how to do that in a confident way. That isn't maybe perfect, but it is food that's not on the meal plan, which can help mentally big time. So she was already doing that when we were trying to lose weight, but she's going to maintain that. What I'm probably going to add to that is I'm going to get her to follow the meals, but I'm going to be sprinkling in some extra carbohydrates in there for the next little while as well. She doesn't know that yet, but I'm going to send her that update today. Number 2, steps. Need to hit step target every day, no matter what. So I've already talked about this before, but keeping our metabolic rate high, keeping our energy flux nice and high, that is going to help to maintain our current body weight, our current body leanness, while we can focus on eating in a way to fuel our workouts and just fuel our body in general right now without trying to get it leaner or lighter. Number 3, workouts dialed in and give best effort even on bad days. So just focusing on workouts and focusing on, okay, I'm still going to have bad days at workouts, and I'm just going to focus on managing those from a mindset perspective as best I can. So that's one of our focuses as well right now. Number 4, log scale weight every day, but we don't actually look for a lower scale for the next 7 to 14 days. We look to bounce up and down in the same channel. So say she's at 197 pounds or something. I'm looking for her to hang around between 197 to 203 or something. Somewhere in that channel, she should be hitting most of her weights, right? We don't care about the fluctuations. That is going to be normal. But we're looking for that channel, that trend over the next 7 to 14 days to be pretty flat when you consider the trend of the ups and the downs. Number 5, focus on finishing each meal around 80% full, and leaving bites left when we don't need it, especially on free meals. Now, she won't be perfect with this. I'm not perfect with this. Nobody's perfect with this. But this is a good focus to improve that isn't directly focused on weight loss or being leaner or lighter, but it is focused on treating our body and our mind in a healthy way and improving our relationship with food and how we eat. So for her to actually do this, this would require her to eat slow, be mindful while she's eating, pay attention to fullness cues, and stop at a point when she might want to keep going, but she doesn't need to, and she's satisfied. So that is a good skill to continue to improve regardless if we're trying to lose weight or not. So basically, I kind of surmise this with, an overall game plan of mindset shifts away completely from scale down, and we log the scale just to watch the pattern and hang out in the same channel for 1 to 2 weeks while we make these above habits that I just listed bulletproof and pull the mind and energy towards habits, effort, mindset, the process, and to be honest, maybe even some muscle growth for 1 to 2 weeks before we decide to plunge down again. And so I mentioned this to her. I said, I was like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. And, before she let me know her thoughts, I told her, I said, either way, I do think we definitely need to shift our focus towards the things that we do that affect weight loss and not focus on weight loss itself. So that's what I'm trying to do right now with this diet break. And then I shared something that I shared something with her that I shared with a client actually not long before I was talking with her, which is a funny coincidence. And I said this is a good one to toot my own horn here. Focusing on lower scale doesn't get you a lower scale. Focusing on the things that get you a lower scale will get you a lower scale. So she doesn't need to worry about that right now because we're not worried about a lower scale, but she can kind of take that, chew on that, dwell on that, and then that will help with, I think, the overall shift that we need for when we do dive back into the actual diet plan to lose weight. And then, she got back to me and she was like, I love all this. And that's actually an important factor as a coach that I'm looking for. A really good indicator is how does the client feel about this? And if she responds, this is something you could do with yourself, right? If you start entertaining this idea of a diet break and you look at it like, oh, this sounds so relieving. This feels good. I love this. Then that might be a good indicator that you need it. She said something specific where she said, I feel like I can breathe. And when she said that, I'm like, yeah, this is confirmation that this is absolutely where we need to be right now. This is what you absolutely need to shift into. And this is our game plan for the next 7 to 14 days. And we will assess every single week like we usually do, and then make decisions based off that. And I'm excited for it because this is, she's actually going into her birthday week as well. And this is funny timing that way because I'm sure she's going into her birthday with a lot of pressure and maybe some feelings of discouragement as well. But going in with this now, kind of a renewed sense of motivation in a different way, and knowing that there is a different way to do this, as opposed to like, okay, I'm struggling, I just need to try harder, or I need to change something to keep losing weight. And it's like, you could also just not lose weight for a few weeks. Do you want to do that? That is totally an option. I think a lot of people put these expectations on themselves of like, I should do this, I should do that, I should be doing this, I should, when it's like, but what do you want to do? Because it is an option for you just not to lose weight. Ever, really. That is an option. You could just never lose weight, but it's certainly an option to not lose weight for a temporary amount of time, which is exactly what a diet break is. So this is something that I think a lot of people underutilize that is extremely powerful for losing weight. It's kind of paradoxical or counterintuitive, because you'd think, oh, we're taking a break from losing weight. Well, how am I going to lose weight if I take a break from losing weight? But it's a good example of one of those kind of parallels or concepts of just pulling back to reload, restabilize, and then refocus enough that you now have the energy and the focus and I think the renewed sense of what your goal even is, and the desire to even do it. And that can come from taking a step back, from taking a diet break, from not focusing on being lighter and leaner for a certain period of time. That is perfectly fine. And this is where a lot of people struggle, because I think again, going back, it's like you feel like you have to just try harder and you just have to keep losing weight, but you don't. You can totally just take a break and you could just not lose weight. That is totally fine. And sometimes 1 or 2 steps back actually helps us take 5 steps forward. And in this case, I think this is exactly what's going to help my client Danielle. I've seen it help many of my other clients in the past as well, work exactly the way we want to. And this is where I think someone like her is going to be actually far more successful than someone who is just white knuckling everything, pushing. And, at some point, is the juice worth the squeeze? They just keep squeezing, but they're not getting any juice out. And you can white knuckle that forever. But, my client Danielle, who's going to be taking this diet break right now and maybe more in the future, she's going to end up getting to the desired outcome that she wants and getting to her goal way better and actually faster than someone who's going to be white knuckling it the whole way. So this is a healthy way to do it. It's a strategic way to do it. It's a sustainable way to do it. And I think it's also a more enjoyable way to do it. So hopefully that helped. If you're in a state or maybe a position in your journey where this could apply to you, then I hope this can apply to you. If you have any questions on this, I'm always happy to offer advice or guidance on this. So feel free to DM me on Instagram at I am Tim Walcott. Make sure you like this video, comment below if you have any questions as well, and I can answer them there. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for next week. Thanks for listening.